Ms. Cousins, what I'd like to do now, please, is to come on to ask you some questions about what Oxyvision is not designed to do or can't do. I think we've touched on some of this already this morning. So we've heard that it's installed only in bedrooms, deliberately, and it shouldn't film inside ensuite bathrooms, and we'll come back to that. As you said, it's not able to identify a patient. It's doing it by room, I think you said. It doesn't pick up audio, and is that deliberate?
It doesn't need to pick up audio.
So is that for privacy reasons and just because it's not necessary generally?
Both.
Yeah. It doesn't work if there's more than one person in the room, is that correct?
It identifies if there's more than one person in the room.
But it doesn't do more than that?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, when you say you're agreeing with me?
Sorry,
Thank
yes.
you. And it's unlikely to work if the patient is moving?
The vital signs element.
The vital
of
signs
it,
element.
Yeah, there are other modules to it that would work, but the vital signs element of it.
So the observations module you might be able to use it for observations purposes, even if someone's moving?
You could still record, yes, the mental health observations, and then you've got the activity tracker as well.
Thank you. The most recent EPUT standard operating procedure document says that OxyHealth must be notified should the room configuration be altered, including repositioning of the bed space. A failure to notify OxyHealth of configuration changes will have an adverse impact on Oxyvision performance and accuracy. Note, movement of furniture a distance as small as 50 centimetres can impact the system's accurate evaluation of a room configuration. What are your expectations in relation to the requirement for providers to notify OxyHealth in these circumstances, and how do such changes affect the technology's efficacy?
So we would communicate with all providers. Sorry, excuse me.
Do you want to take a sip of water?
Thank you. Around movement of furniture. However, within the majority of mental health inpatient units, furniture is fixed from a risk point of view. So if I provide you an example of an older age adult ward where there may be the need for a hospital bed, so where the bed is movable, what we say is that if the bed is moved within a certain amount, that providers should notify us, because that may have an effect on, again, as an example, the leaving bed or out of bed alert that may be configured for that room.
So if I can put it in short, and tell me if I've got this wrong, there could be an issue if room furniture isn't where the system expects it to be?
Yes.
Thank you. We've seen that it takes vital signs only within particular parameters, 50 to 130 pulse rate a minute, and forgive me, I've forgotten what the other...
8 to 39 breaths per minute.
Say that again?
8 to 39 breaths per minute.
8 to 39 breaths, thank you very much, a minute. If their pulse and breath rate is outside those parameters, the system is probably not going to be able to pick it up, is that correct?
That's correct, the system does not measure outside of those.
But from a health perspective, isn't it just that kind of reading outside those parameters that a member of staff would want to be aware of?
Not necessarily. I think there may be other reasons where, again, depending on what a patient's baseline pulse or breathing rate, staff may want to be able to keep an eye for other reasons, so physical health concerns.
But in terms of worrying pulse or breath rates, they will generally fall outside the range covered by the vital signs technology.
Generally, but again, it depends on
On
that
the person.
patient.
Thank
yeah.
you. We've heard that there are problems using it, or there may be when the patient is completely covered. Is that because the system won't be able to see the micro blushes in the skin or the rise and fall of the chest?
That's correct. So to measure pulse rate, the system needs to be able to see skin.
And clearly, for observations purposes, it won't be ideal if the person is completely covered.
That's correct.
It's been suggested that the system may not be able to provide an accurate or possibly any reading if a patient has scarring or tattoos. Is that correct?
That's what's documented within our instructions for use as a caution stroke warning.
You say in your first statement that the OxyHealth Vital, this is paragraph 17, the OxyHealth Vital Signs device is indicated for use on humans 12 years of age or older with all skin types. So just reminding ourselves that in terms of one aspect of the vital signs, it's looking for micro blushes in the skin. Is it correct that the system still works for all skin types?
That's correct.
Has Oxyvision actually been tested on all skin types?
I believe it has, yes.
Forgive me, finish what you were saying.
Using what I believe is the Fitzpatrick scale.
Going back to the need to have exposed skin, can it, you say somebody's covered up, but can it take a reading from their face?
If that skin is exposed, yes.
Thank you.
Might the accuracy of the system also be affected by people with tremors, alcohol withdrawal, or motion disorders?
Again, that's listed within our instructions for use under cautions warnings.
Would you accept that the system has quite a few limitations, whether by design or because of the current state of the technology?
There are some limitations to the system, yes.
We've referred to the fact that Vital Signs is a regulated medical device, but given the limitations we've just discussed, to what extent would you say it reliably confirms whether a patient is physically well or not?
I think that there's a lot of other things from a context point of view that would have to be considered from that point of view, but it gives you two measurements of vital signs that can be used to help gauge physical health. Not completely, but it gives you two pieces of that.
So it would need to be part of a bigger picture?
Yes.
Thank you. We saw at the beginning that Oxyvision is rebranding to Leo, and also that a new platform is being introduced next year, correct?
That's correct, yes, a new generation of the platform.
This is what you said, this is paragraph 100 of your second statement. We've seen it, but I'll just remind you. Mm-hmm. Building on the foundations of Oxyvision, a new platform will be introduced in 2026, which will bring together ambient patient monitoring, digital observations and management insights in one purpose-built solution. What is new about the Leo platform compared to Oxyvision?
So if I break this down into 4 sections.
Yeah.
So looking at, and I think we briefly touched upon it earlier, so configurable modes per patient rather than per ward. So looking at those configurable modes and providing that flexibility. Enhanced access and user controls to ensure appropriate usage. So user authentication, so providers have got the ability to be able to lock any part of the system behind user authentication. So again, an example would be if they want to monitor who is resetting alerts or who is accessing the Take Vital Sign workflow, they've got the ability to put that behind user authentication. And enhanced digital observations, so the Oxyvision observations and enhancing how that workflow works and looking at more enhanced compliance reporting alongside the digital observations, and then looking at a new ambient monitoring unit. So looking at the housing unit and looking at changing that. So for ease of installation and designed to be smaller and more reassuring for patients.
You said, I think the second of your four descriptions of how it's different was enhanced access with controls to monitor appropriate usage. Is that in recognition of previous issues with inappropriate use of the system?
No, so it was that facility has been there since early 2025. Yeah.
You said if someone's resetting alerts, so presumably added functionality to be able to monitor that is because that has previously been an issue.
That was an example of being able to, so at the moment, to use any part of the system apart from Oxyvision observations, it doesn't require staff to log in. However, with user authentication, providers will have the choice to be able to have any part of the system behind user authentication if they so wish to.
Thank you. But does that mean, for example, on the tablets, that someone doesn't need to log in before they're able to access the functionality of Oxyvision?
The functionality apart from Oxyvision observations. So those digitalised mental health observations require staff to log in from an accountability point of view.
But someone would be able to have a tablet and access vital signs, would they, without logging in?
Yes.
So they'd have access to a clear view of the patient for up to 15 seconds.
Yes, there are various other safeguards that are in place. And again, that's split into two sections. So what the system offers from a safeguard, and that is you've got the ability to switch a room off should it not be appropriate to use the system for certain patients.
Thank you. I'm going to come on to ask you about safeguards specifically. Thank you, though, for explaining the difference of the new platform. One of the concerns that's been raised is that OxyHealth uses language that is deliberately obscure. Would you accept that it would be difficult for most people to understand what's meant by ambient patient monitoring, for example?
So that language is on our website. Our website is not designed to act as information directly for patients and their carers. So there are nationally co-produced leaflets and posters that have been designed with the National Mental Health and Learning Disability Nurse Directors Forum across England and Wales, which looks at things like accessibility, language.
Thank you. Just generally in relation to the new platform, does the fact that it is being introduced reflect any concerns with the operation of the current Oxyvision platform?
No, this was something that had been on the cards for some time.
So again, it's not in response to concerns that have been raised in the press and elsewhere, including this inquiry, about the way in which Oxyvision currently operates?
We're constantly looking at how to develop the platform, and that's in conjunction with providers and a large group of experts by experience that we work with.
Thank you. I mean, we may come on to experts by experience. What I would like to turn to now, please, is to look at the advantages of Oxyvision, the system, as OxyHealth perceives them. You deal with this from paragraphs 41 to 42 of your first statement, but I'm going to ask that that's put up on our screen, please. That's OXHE009031. Thank you. So this is dealing with research, and research we may come back to later. But I just wanted to read this out because I think it summarises advantages as you see them. There is an extensive evidence base demonstrating the clinical and operational value of OxyHealth's contactless patient monitoring system in inpatient mental health settings. Evaluations consistently show that the technology supports staff to deliver improvements in safety, quality and efficiency on mental health wards, Most of this research is based on provider-led service evaluations, a number of which have culminated in peer-reviewed journal publications. Key findings include reductions in rates of patient safety events, self-harm, falls, assaults and restraints, enhanced physical health monitoring, time and cost savings, and improvements in both patient and staff experience. Notably, recent interim findings from independent research on patient experience showed that the vast majority of patients with direct experience of the OxyHealth system feel as safe or safer when the technology is in use. We may return to the research aspect later on, but looking at these points, you refer to reductions in rates of patient safety events. We'll come back to that in a moment. Enhanced physical health monitoring, we can see in paragraph 42. Is that a reference to the vital signs technology and the trends that we've just been talking about?
That's correct.
Is the intention that Oxyvision provides access to accurate and up-to-date clinical information?
That's correct.
You say that the monitoring is enhanced. In what way is it enhanced?
So enhanced physical healthcare monitoring, from the point of view of being able to access that pulse and respiration rate should that be needed, and the vital signs trend chart. So if you had a unit that didn't have Oxyvision in, as a clinician, you're not going to know what a patient's trend is from a pulse and a breathing rate point of view.
So the enhanced element is really the trend data that the system provides, is it?
And the ability to be able to do that contact-free pulse and respiration rate.
You also refer, we can see here, to time and cost savings. What do you mean by that?
So from a point of view, and I think this is a really important point, so financial benefit from the point of view of this is not about reducing safe staffing. So mental health units and providers have what they call a safe staffing number per ward. So the minimum amount of staff that you need per ward, per shift. So by introducing our technology, it's not about reducing the safe staffing number. And each unit will have a substantive staff establishment. So how many staff they should have per ward. So it's not about reducing that either. But if I give you an example, again, an older adult setting. So if staff are using the platform and are alerted to a potential fall in which they can intervene with earlier, then the financial and time benefit is around the possibility of not having to have extra staff if that patient needs to go and visit a general hospital, and then having to backfill staff on the ward with extra staff. So it's about having access to that up-to-date information and how that can help with the planning of care.
Thank you. Does part of OxyHealth's marketing to trusts emphasise the economic efficiencies that come with using the system?
So again, we do talk about time saving from a nurse's point of view, of being able to provide them with that up-to-date information to prevent incidents. So again, time, if an incident is prevented, you haven't got a member of staff having to complete incident forms and the various paperwork then that follows.
Thank you. You talk about improvements in both patient and staff experience. Can you explain what you meant by that?
So from a patient point of view, again, I spoke about it earlier about that the general observations at night and being able to use the platform to be able to allow people to sleep and rest and recover without waking them up. So less intrusive, and the positive impact that this has if someone's had a good night's sleep in relation to their recovery or engagement within therapy the next morning. Again, patient safety, incidents. If you can prevent incidents from happening, that only has a positive experience for both staff and patients.
Can I ask you about time saved? Have you done studies, audits on how much time is saved? You talked, for instance, about preventing incidents, and I can see how you might look at that, but have you actually been able to establish that time is saved?
We have got some papers in relation to time, yes. And that frees up time then for staff to have that direct patient contact if they're not having to complete paperwork.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we come back to consider the first of the key findings that you include, reductions in rates of patient safety events? You've touched on that a little bit already, but you refer specifically to self-harm, falls, assaults and restraints. Can you explain a little bit more what you mean by that?
Yes. So again, if I provide examples, so last week I received an email from one of the providers that we work with to say that Oxyvision had alerted or warned staff to 3 ligature attempts within a doorway, which may have otherwise been missed, and that was only over a 2-week period. Again, Oxyvision played a critical role in a ligature event, which resulted in an individual not coming to significant harm. And I believe that there are some stats and percentages within my second statement. Can I refer to those?
Well, we'll come back to the research and evaluation separately, if that's all right. But if there's something particular you'd like to refer to now, by all means.
Again, a comment from a chair from an organisation that in their own trust they're well aware of the significant number of falls that have been prevented on the dementia units. And again, Organisation A, in 26 months, there were 1,774 incidents where Oxyvision supported staff to respond to a situation where a service users could have otherwise come to some serious harm, and there are others in there as well.
Thank you. In fact, that specific category of data is something I may raise tomorrow with Mr. Trent and the basis for it. May I say this, Chair? The inquiry's expert health statistician team will be considering some of the research, evaluations and feedback to which reference is made in Ms. Cousins' statements and also in Mr. Trent's statements and the exhibits that have been provided that are relevant to that. A report will be produced and provided to core participants. After that has happened, the inquiry will review the position and we may ask that Oxy Health provide further information. In the meantime, I may have some questions and we'll come on to that if we may. But thank you for that. Could you take down, please, the 2 paragraphs from the screen? What I'd like to move on now to is just to ask you about provision of video and other data following an incident. Would another aspect of reducing the rates of patient safety events be that the Oxyvision system can provide video and other data following an incident?
That's correct. I think it's important to add that the provision of video, again, is a decision for a provider, so they don't have to have that.
We'll come on to that if we may. How does the provision of incident data assist when there's been a patient safety event? You talk about this from paragraph 70 in your second statement.
So the provision of data enables providers, if they've made the decision to have that 24-hour clear video data buffer, they've got the ability to have access to that. Again, it's under very strict governance.
We'll come on to that in a moment. But so there's access to video data, and we can come on to exactly what's available shortly. Is there also access to other incident data, such as reports?
So all of the reports that the Oxyvision system provides, so the activity report, the observation report, the vital sign trend report, and the sleep report can all be exported. So providers will have access to that. There is also data that we're able to provide in relation to anonymised system data. So what I mean by that is able to provide a snapshot of what the system was doing for a set period of time.
For example, members of staff interacting with it?
So yes, any interactions either with the fixed monitor or the tablet device, any alerts that have maybe been triggered, when those alerts were reset and what device reset those alerts, whether the vital sign workflow was accessed, and room state information.
And when you say room state information, do you mean whether a room is occupied or not?
Whether a room is occupied or not, but also so if someone had been in the room and then in the bathroom and then left the room, it will provide that list of those states.
Thank you very much. Just dealing with the video data that's available, we've heard that the system allows access to clear view for the purposes of vital signs and observations, and blurred view in response to a warning.
Alert.
Or an alert, thank you. Does clear video data remain available after there's been an incident?
So there's a clear video data buffer. Now this is only for 24 hours and it auto deletes. Now again, this is a choice for providers. They don't have to have this, but if they do choose it, then they've got the ability to request, if there has been a serious incident, the ability to be able to save parts of that video data should they want that. Again, like I say, they've got to have requested that within the 24-hour time period because it does auto-delete.
Thank you. We'll come on to talk about that feature shortly. Where is the clear video data stored? I've read in your statements that encrypted clear video data is stored on ePut servers. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If the trust or provider is ePut?
Yes, it's stored at the provider's site.
Is OxyHealth able to assist to provide clear video data to a trust after an incident? As you've just discussed, I think.
Yes, if they have the CVD buffer, so the clear video data buffer, and that they request it within the time frame.
Thank you. So we'll come back, as I say, to that. Has OxyHealth, in fact, provided a number of clear video data clips to trusts such as ePut at their request?
That's correct.
Does OxyHealth also provide blurred video data to a trust after an incident, if requested?
Yes, so if there has been a serious incident and that buffer, 24-hour buffer period has been missed, then there is the opportunity to be able to provide blurred video data. I think it's important to note that the provider organisation is the data controller, so therefore it's their data.
Thank you. We'll come back to all of that. Just at the moment, looking at the kinds of information that OxyHealth is able to provide following an incident. Is OxyHealth also able to provide system data logs after an incident?
That's correct.
What are they?
So that's the room states, the device usage, the user interaction with the system, as I explained earlier.
That's what you explained before.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You refer in your first statement also to the provision of data reports following an incident. This is at paragraph 136. And you say that, or we've heard that 19 were sent to EPUT between 2021 and 2023. What I'd like to do is look at part of a data report with you, please. Could you put up OXHE 009035 at page 1, please? So this is, you refer to it in your statement as a data report, I think. We can see here that it calls itself Oxy Health Anonymised Data Review. But that's the same thing, is it?
Yes.
So what we see here is for EPUT for the 3rd of August 2024, and this is for a particular ward, although that's been redacted out. And can we see under introduction, on the 3rd of September 2024, Oxy Health received a request from a particular person to provide the data logs for a particular room in a particular ward. And can we then see a time frame on a particular date, so between 6 and 7:30 p.m. on the 3rd of August last year. These notes have been made by a member of Oxy Health staff who's not medically trained and is a representation of anonymised system data with the intention to provide information on activity within the room. So is all of this an aspect of what you've just been describing to us?
That's correct.
Can we look to table 1, the upper table, please, first? We can see, in fact, there are 2 different tables under table 1, but at the upper table, does it show under timestamp a date and time? Is that correct?
Yes.
Then does it show the nature of the alert or the location of the alert?
It's the nature of the alert.
So we can see here on the first line, the in bathroom.
That's correct.
So we may talk about this later, but is there a feature whereby if someone's in a bathroom for more than 3 minutes, an alert is triggered on the system?
Again, it's configurable, that time period, for what the provider wants.
We'll hear that it's 3 minutes at EPUT. Is 3 minutes a pretty standard time for that particular alert?
It varies. So what we see is when providers are looking at what alerts to configure for the system, quite often they'll do a review of their own incident data in order to inform.
It'll depend on the particular provider.
Yes.
Then we see a status, and we can see in each case resolved, and then a time in seconds. Can you tell me first, what does resolved mean?
That alert has been reset.
So by the member of staff?
Yes.
Does it mean that a member of staff has actually conducted an in-person check of a patient, or does it mean that they simply have reset the alert?
It simply means they've reset the alert. This is the system data rather than...
So resolved doesn't mean that an in-person check has been conducted, just that the alarm's been switched off?
That's correct.
Thank you very much. And the time in seconds, is that the time between the alert first sounding and it being switched off?
That's correct. Reset, yeah.
Or reset, that's the best word. Thank you. The lower table, please. We can see a timestamp, an event and a device. Could you just explain what's happening there, please?
So this is in relation to the alerts that are in the above table. So this tells you what alert that it was reset and by what device, and again it's date and time stamped.
So display 1
would be the fixed monitor within the nurse's office, and then each of the tablets then have got their own number.
Thank you. Can you take that down, please? You deal in your statement with usage reports. Do these provide details of the use of Oxyvision at a trust?
Yes, so we provide usage reports to providers. This is to enable providers I suppose they form part of providers' governance and audit and use of the system. So it provides them with, again, an example of how many times the vital sign workflow has been accessed, and that's split between day and night.
We'll have a look at one in a moment. We know, and perhaps you could confirm, that Oxy Health has sent usage reports to ePut at regular intervals.
That's correct.
Could you put up, please, the usage report for July 2024? That's ePut 009021 on page 1. So can we see here a monthly usage report from Oxy Health sent to ePut? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And could you go to the top of the second page, please, and expand up to, that's perfect, thank you. So can we see here what the usage report covers? Individual ward usage summary, a page for each ward, the number of vital sign attempts each day over the last month, split between day and night. That's what you just referred to, is it?
That's correct.
With trend lines, speed of alert resets each day over the last month, the usage of each device that has been used over the last month, list of all devices assigned to the ward if they are being used or not, and when they were last used, correct?
Correct.
Could you go, please, to page 30 of this document and enlarge the top? Could you just enlarge Basildon MHU at the top, please? Up to the bottom of that. Thank you. So, can we see here the ward names down the left-hand side, here, Basildon? Vital signs attempts we can see in the next column, correct?
Correct.
Vitals displayed
Correct.
in the next column, and activity report views in the final column.
Correct.
Vital signs attempts, does that mean the number of times a staff member has used the system to access up to 15 seconds of clear video prior to making a vital signs check?
Correct. It's when they've accessed that workflow. So when they've selected that vital sign workflow
Thank
button.
you. And vitals displayed, does that mean the number of successful attempts to take vital signs?
That's when one or so either pulse and or breathing rate have been displayed to the user.
Thank you. What are activity report views?
So the activity report is, again, a report that the system provides, and it provides this over a 24-hour period, over a 7-day, and we quite often see these used in practice to form part of handovers, care planning with patients. So what this indicates is how many times the activity reports have been viewed for that ward.
Oh, thank you very much. If we compare the vital signs attempts column and the figures there with the vitals displayed columns, we see a discrepancy in the figures provided, don't we?
Yes, that's correct. They're different.
The number of attempts is much higher in each case. For example, we could see on Grangewater ward, there were 17,550 attempts, but only 7,884 times that vitals were displayed.
That's correct.
Does it demonstrate that it regularly takes many attempts before vital signs are successfully taken?
No, I don't think it does. I think it's difficult to try and work out why that is without context of that ward and the patient population within that ward. So again, an example may be that there may have been patients that were on more routine physical healthcare monitoring than others. It's difficult to know without the context.
Can we look at, could you show the full page, please, Amanda? Let's just have a look. We can see, and we'll scroll down in a second, that generally speaking, that trend seems to continue in Brockfield House. Could you show Rochfield Hospital and down, please? The trend appears to continue there. It appears to continue at the St Aubin Centre and indeed at all of the units that are listed there. So do you maintain that it's ward specific, or is this an issue, do you think, across different wards?
I think that's probably a question for EPA around how they use that. But this, I think, is this is the whole reason about why we provide these usage reports. So it gives providers information about how the system is being used, so they can use that as part of governance and audit against their standard operating procedure to ensure that there is consistent and appropriate use.
This situation here, where we have many more attempts than successful vital signs checks, are you saying that these figures here are EPUT specific, or is it likely that if we were to look at equivalent statistics from other trusts or providers that we would see the same trend?
So the system will only output if it's completely confident. If it's not confident within a reading, it won't output a reading at all.
But my question was whether we would see this same trend at other providers.
I would have to look at that.
Thank you. Could you take that down, please? To what extent does Oxy Health record and address instances of improper or unsafe use of Oxyvision, of which it becomes aware?
I don't think it's for Oxyvision or Oxy Health, sorry, to determine what is inappropriate or unsafe. We're a technology provider. We don't have context of wards or the patients within those wards. That is a question for the providers and ensuring that they're working alongside what their standard operating procedure would say is appropriate and safe use.
You're a registered mental health nurse. Are you really saying that Oxy Health can divorce itself from that kind of consideration?
I suppose what I'm saying is if you consider other types of technology that are used within mental health wards, so again, a blood pressure machine, you don't have the manufacturer of the blood pressure machine auditing wards about the appropriate use of it.
But this is technology that's used in mental health inpatient units in connection with people who are or may be incredibly vulnerable.
I understand that. I do understand that.
Your second statement says that the right to autonomy and respect for privacy is something which is central to considerations of treatment of care of all patients in hospital. That's paragraph 45 for your reference. And you go on to talk about the importance of balancing privacy and security.
Safety.
Sorry, privacy and safety. Thank you. Could you put up, please, Amanda, paragraph 46 of the second statement? This is what you say. Oxyvision is designed to be used in a way which enables autonomy and respect for privacy alongside the need to keep patients as safe as is feasible. The following features are deployed as standard. The ability to switch off Oxyvision for individual rooms. You've told us about that, haven't you? The ability to pause Oxyvision for individual rooms, and I think we saw that in connection to one of the screenshots that we were looking at.
I don't remember. Sorry.
Or you told us about it anyway.
Yes, I think I said and gave the example of personal care with an older adult.
Thank you. A home screen that displays rooms as tiles, which we've seen, with video only available in two specific circumstances: when taking vital signs spot check measurements, clear images, and when an alert has been triggered by the system, blurred images, and privacy masks to blur areas of the video feed, particularly when bathroom doorways are visible, applied by default. So just dealing with that last point, privacy masks, in relation to ensuite bathrooms and other areas. What is a privacy mask?
So the easiest way to describe this is basically a box, a black box over the bathroom doorway if the bathroom doesn't have a door on it, which we do see in some mental health units for safety reasons. When staff would be accessing the Take Vital Signs workflow, if the bathroom door or the bathroom doorway was visible and there was no door or curtain, there would be a black box over 3/4 of that doorway.
The bottom 3/4? Or the top 3/4?
I believe it's the
or the middle?
3/4, but I'd have to check, sorry.
So when a member of staff was accessing a Vital Signs clear view, they would not be able to see that portion of the bathroom entrance?
No, that's correct.
And would that apply even if a bathroom door was in place?
I believe that we've put it over all bathroom. It's over all bathroom doorways, but I can double check that.
Thank you. Could you take that down, please? Now, safeguards, which is something you were mentioning before, and I said we'd come back to. You say at paragraph 50 of your second statement that there are safeguards about monitoring the use of Oxyvision. And can you, so this is paragraph 50, can you identify what those are and how they work, please?
Yeah, so I think for ease of understanding, I think there's, I'll split this into two sections. So there are safeguards in place directly from the system, and I think we've spoken about a few of those. So the ability to switch a room off, to pause a room, the design of the home screen, the privacy masks, the user which also I spoke about, the option not to have that clear video buffer. We also have what we call a vital sign attempt notification. So if, and again this is an example, if an organisation had written in their standard operating procedure that during nighttime checks, staff were able to use the Take Vital Sign workflow in order to assure themselves that somebody was safe rather than disturbing them. But they only wanted them to be able to use that twice in a period of 5 minutes. We could configure this that a notification, if people attempted to access it more than that, a notification would be sent to every Oxyvision device on that ward, so the tablets and the fixed monitor. And we can also configure that an email could be sent to a nominated recipient as well. So they're the safeguards that are in place directly from the system, but I think there are safeguards also from outside of the system in relation to governance and audit. And I think we've touched upon some of these. So the Nurse Directors Forum guidance that was published in 2022, that's got some clear guidance and recommendations within it. The SOP guidance document, also that's available from the Nurse Directors website. The ward audit tool template, so again, an audit tool that providers can use. This is split into 4 sections. So there's a section on consent, patient feedback, staff feedback.
We'll be looking at examples of those, or an example of that with Mr. Trent tomorrow. So we'll certainly be looking at that in more detail. But the 2 categories you've been talking about are those that are built into the system and those that are external to the system. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Were there any other safeguards that you wanted to mention before I turn to a new topic?
No, I suppose I just want to mention that recognise that the platform may not be suitable for everybody, and we do recognise that. And I think an example would be if you had 5 people that were suffering with severe depression, you wouldn't necessarily treat all of those 5 people with the same medication. However, there are patients that do benefit from the use of this system, and I think that also needs to be recognised as well.
What that would suggest, though, is that clinicians would have to conduct a case-by-case assessment of whether the technology should be deployed, correct?
But I think that's what clinicians do in general. You're assessing everybody as individuals.
Well, that's not actually what was happening at ePut, as we'll come on to hear tomorrow. The system was on by default. But your evidence to us today, so we're absolutely clear, is that this is generally a tool that can assist, but that you need to analyse, in the case of each patient, whether it will.
It's about that assessment and that conversation with the patient, and ensuring the patient knows exactly what the system does, what it doesn't do, how it would be used as part of their care, and not just having that conversation once either. That's an ongoing conversation.
Thank you very much. Can we move on then to talk about some concerns that have been raised about the operation of Oxyvision? You mentioned before that Oxyvision is meant to operate along with normal staffing levels. I may be summarising it or overgeneralising, but is that in essence correct?
Yes.
One of the concerns that's been raised has been raised in this way by Stop Oxyvision, the campaign group which we heard this morning seeks to highlight the use of Oxyvision, and which is calling for a halt to its rollout pending an independent review. Could you put up, please, this is part of Hat Porter's first statement, paragraph 3.26. That's STOX 009054 at page 13. Thank you. So can we see here that ESSO, that Stop Oxyvision, is concerned that Oxyvision and other VBMS, and now we established before, that's vision-based monitoring systems, correct?
Thank you. Sorry, yes, that's correct.
Do you have water in your glass? Would you like to pour some?
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll start again. So ESSO, Stop Oxyvision, is concerned that Oxyvision and other VBMS are being used as a superficial quick fix for wider systemic issues in mental health care, including inadequate levels of staffing and high levels of poor practice on mental health wards. In that context, the introduction of such systems risks widening pre-existing and underlying cracks in the system, which continue to go unaddressed. Now, as a registered mental health nurse yourself, is that a concern you understand?
I can understand, yes, but I don't think, from my point of view, this is an assistive tool for staff. It's not about replacing staff, and I think I spoke about that earlier. And I think it's mental health care over the years hasn't, in my opinion, necessarily had the same level of innovation as physical health monitoring, physical health care. So you go into a general hospital and there's technology everywhere, which helps support those clinicians. And like I said earlier, within mental health care, you still have staff walking around with a pen and a piece of paper documenting observations. So, yeah, I think there needs to be that equalness between mental health care and physical.
Thank you. The technology that Oxyvision affords, particularly in relation to vital signs, would make sense in a physical health context, wouldn't it?
That's correct.
But as far as I'm aware, it's not deployed there.
Not currently, no.
Wouldn't it actually make more sense in a physical health context than a mental health context?
Not necessarily. I think, again, my own experience when you look back at mental health nursing, there was always, and I think this has been recognised as well over the years, that physical health care didn't tend to get the attention that it should do within mental health services. So people don't just have, so people with mental health concerns also have physical health care concerns as well. So therefore, as mental health nurses, you need to be able to look after those physical health care concerns too.
Do you think the reason it hasn't been rolled out in the physical healthcare sector is because people would consider it too intrusive? There would be privacy concerns.
No.
Just dealing with the quick fix point and staffing, does OxyHealth recognise that mental health trusts frequently face financial strains and staffing shortages?
Yes.
Do you accept that in circumstances like that, the risk of your system's use to make observations remotely and therefore save staff time and costs is a very real possibility?
So again, it's about why organisations purchase the system, and it's around the implementation of the system and the engagement with staff about how the system should be used, why it should be used, when it should be used, and having that robust standard operating procedure in place, but also those governance and audit processes to ensure that that doesn't happen.
But do you see the last sentence here from Hat Porter? If we're dealing with a mental health inpatient unit in circumstances of staff shortages, do you agree that in that kind of context, the introduction of such systems as Oxyvision risks widening pre-existing and underlying cracks in the system, which then continue to go unaddressed?
Possibly, but I also think the benefits of the system as well in relation to patient safety need to be considered.
Thank you very much. Would you agree with this? That can be taken down. Thank you very much. Would you agree with this, that the safe and successful operation of Oxyvision requires that other systems, for example, safe staffing and comprehensive training, are in place and operating successfully?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes, of course. I asked you whether you agreed with this statement, that the safe and successful operation of Oxyvision requires that other systems, for example, safe staffing and comprehensive training, are in place and operating successfully.
Yes.
So if Oxyvision is deployed somewhere where we don't have safe staffing or comprehensive training, it may not operate in the way OxyHealth intends.
Correct.
Can I ask another question? Do you accept that, it's a very basic question, but if there is remote observation going on, the staff may miss the chance for important therapeutic observation and engagement?
So that's a really interesting point, and I think I was having a conversation around the purpose of what these mental health observations are with a senior clinician last week. And they described the distinction that they made between therapeutic engagement with patients and routine general observations and splitting that. So there is a necessity, and they emphasised that routine periodic observations should never be interrupted from a safety point of view, and posed a question around how interactions with patients can be truly meaningful and therapeutic if staff are rushing to the next person in order to meet and stay on schedule for those timed observations. However, what they said was that by using the platform, that staff can effectively complete those safety observations while freeing up time for others, for those therapeutic interventions to take place.
Do you accept, though, that a therapeutic intervention can also be a safety intervention?
It could be.
Thank you.
Can we pick up on aspects of what you've just explained? Because obviously another major concern raised about the use of vision-based patient monitoring systems, including OxyHealth, is that they actually undermine therapeutic engagement by staff with a patient. To illustrate this point, I'd like to go in a moment to a recent investigation report which you've provided by the Health Services Safety Investigations Body, or HSIB. It's called Mental Health Inpatient Settings Overarching Report of Investigations Directed by the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, and it's from May this year. Before we go to it, is it right that HSIB investigates patient safety concerns across the NHS in England and in independent healthcare settings where safety learning could also help to improve NHS care?
That's
Is that
correct.
correct? Thank you. Could we please put up OXHE 009978 at page 36? And could you highlight paragraph 2.6.18? That's perfect. Thank you. So this is part of that report. Just reading one part of it first. The investigations heard variable views on the benefits and value of these technologies in mental health inpatient settings. Some staff felt they provided a safeguard because of the challenges they faced when trying to observe all patients on a ward, particularly when short-staffed. Now, that seems to support the point I was putting to you before, where Oxyvision is used to prop up staff at a ward that's understaffed. Would you agree?
Yes.
Just moving on. However, others were concerned that the use of the technologies may discourage some staff from actively engaging with patients, which is essential for therapeutic care. I think that's the point that the chair was just raising with you. Hat Porter has suggested that the use of vision-based monitoring systems such as Oxyvision on wards to allow the conduct of remote observations and checks on patients at best reduces and at worst removes the opportunity for therapeutic engagement between staff and patients. Looking at the HSIB report and hearing there from Hat Porter, do you accept that this is a risk?
I accept that they've said that some staff that they spoke to, yes. There was also some positive stories as well that was raised by HSIB.
Has OxyHealth seen any examples of over-reliance on Oxyvision as a replacement for therapeutic engagement?
Speaking from my experience, I believe that was raised at one of the inquests that I attended.
So it's an issue that you're aware of and OxyHealth would be aware of. What can be done to prevent this over-reliance on Oxyvision?
Again, as I said earlier, this is an assistive tool providing staff with information that they didn't have access to. And it's around the providers' standard operating procedure and their governance processes. I think there are things that we have done, as in those safeguards that I spoke about that are inbuilt into the system.
Thank you. You refer in your statement to EPUT and OxyHealth producing an Early Insights and Implementation Lessons Learned report. Sorry, I'll say that again. Early Insights and Implementation Lessons Learned report in August 2020. You say this at paragraph 89 of your first statement. It includes that early evidence suggests that the OxyHealth system is delivering operational efficiencies through fewer avoidable close observations, positive risk-taking in stepping down observations levels, and faster observation rounds. Now, is that an example of how the use of Oxyvision may lead to greater risk and lower therapeutic engagement?
I wasn't involved in writing that report, and that was pre my employment with OxyHealth. However, that report was written in conjunction with EPUT, so Mr. Trent may be in a better position to answer that.
Just picking up on something the Chair asked you a moment ago, would you agree that face-to-face observations, rather than conducted through a screen, provide a way to spend time and be with a person and so build a therapeutic relationship?
Yes, I do agree with that. However, not if a patient is sleeping at night and asleep.
Thank you very much. Where do you think OxyHealth's responsibility lies in ensuring that the technology is put to appropriate use?
I think we provide training to organisations in relation to product training, so how the system works, i.e. what do you select when and what the system looks like. I think there is a lot of national guidance out there now in relation to remote patient monitoring systems. So we had the guidance from the Nurse Directors Forum across England and Wales from 2022. There's now the NHSE principles, and more recently, the Care Quality Commission.
I will come on to touch on those in relation specifically to consent in a moment.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that. Could you take that down, please? Chair, we've reached 3:15, so it may be a good time for a break for 15 minutes, please, till past.
Lovely. Till past. Thank you.
Ms Cousins, we've been talking about concerns that have been raised about the operation of Oxyvision, and I'd like to come on to one more now, please. You've told us about the audible alerts that are part of the functioning of the system. Would those have been part of multiple alarms of different types on a typical mental health inpatient unit?
So in my experience, the other type of alarms or noises that you have going on could be, for instance, and again, this is my own experience, a doorbell for the ward. So anyone entering that environment, they may be required to press a doorbell, or a telephone ringing, or fire alarms, but they're few and far between. Possibly incident alarms, although I know some mental health units, these are rather than being across the whole ward, they're on individual devices that are carried by staff, as well as like call bell for, like nurse call bell systems for rooms.
So the Oxyvision audible alert would be one of a number of alarms or other noises that would be in the background in any mental health unit.
Yes, the alert could be.
And now we've already seen in the usage report logging alerts and how they've been resolved, reset. What I'd like to do now is to look at another part of Hat Porter's evidence to this inquiry, please. Please put up STOX 009054 at paragraph 16 and expand paragraph 3.33. Thank you. So this statement says, we are also aware that alarm fatigue is recognised as a significant patient safety issue for most types of patient monitoring technology. And the same is true for Oxyvision and other VBMS. Evidence at inquests has exposed delays in staff responding to alarms on mental health wards, even resetting them without making necessary checks on patient safety. This is not a new phenomenon. Alarm fatigue, and she goes on, they go on to talk about hospital environments in the US. Do you accept that there's a problem of staff failure to attend Oxyvision alarms in a timely manner?
So I think if we take the subject of alert fatigue first, so it is a provider's choice what alerts that they have depending on their the patient population. And I think I spoke about it briefly earlier, where we've seen providers do some analysis of their own incident data first around actually what alert would be suitable, and doing this off the back of that analysis of incident data. We quite often see that there are certain alerts that are configured for time periods only, so not constant. So again, if I provide an example, it might be helpful. It could be that on an older person's ward, that actually the leaving bed and the out of bed alerts are configured for a nighttime period only, because that's when people are in bed. During the day, the majority of people are up.
Those are things, if I may say, that may be used to address alarm fatigue. My question was, do you accept that there's a problem of staff failure to attend Oxyvision alarms in a timely manner?
I think, again, based on the experience of the inquests that I've attended, alerts have been attended to by staff, and again, without going into the specific inquests. However, that in-person check, according to EPUT standard operating procedure, may not have taken place.
Can we just deal with the inquest? You refer in your second statement to 4 inquests following deaths at EPUT where Oxyvision had been used. Now, 3 of those inquests involved the muting or resetting of alarms by staff. Elise Sebastian, who died on the 19th of April 2021. Michael Nolan, who died on the 10th of July 2022, and Morgan Rose Hart, who died on the 12th of July 2022, so just 2 days after Mr. Nolan. So those deaths are 15 months apart. When did OxyHealth first consider and address the risks of muting of alerts or resetting?
So it's the resetting of that alert. So that alert has triggered when it should have triggered. and staff have interacted with the system. What staff have then done afterwards is a matter of EPUT's standard operating procedure. But I think what we've done is consideration around what we spoke about earlier, so user auth. So again, it's down to a provider about certain parts of the system where staff could be required to log in. So therefore, you would know who has reset that alert if that's what was decided by a provider.
Zephyr Trent says in his first statement to this inquiry that in May 2021, so that would be the month following Elise Sebastian's death, EPUT's OxyHealth Project Board explored the potential to lock down the audible alert volume to 75% on the fixed monitors. This was explored to remove the potential for staff to be able to physically change the volume setting. The outcome was that there wasn't a practical method to eliminate the possibility on the fixed monitors. However, all tablets are preset at 75% volume and are not adjustable by staff. Now, that's before your time at OxyHealth. But do you accept that OxyHealth was aware at this time of concerns that staff were resetting the volume or reducing the volume of Oxyvision alerts?
I do, and there was those conversations that happened with EPUT. I also think it's important that we do have some organisations where they allow for this to happen, and that's written within their standard operating procedure. So if I give you an example, particularly at night, for instance, where they don't want the noise of the alert disturbing people. So we've had organisations request whether the tablet could vibrate instead of making a noise, for instance.
But when you said they allow for this to happen, did you mean that there could be scenarios, the one you just explained at night, where it is appropriate to mute the volume of a monitor or a tablet?
To turn it down, or to not necessarily have the tablet in an area where it may disturb patients who are sleeping.
But my question was directed more at OxyHealth's knowledge of these serious issues that were arising in inquests in relation to patients who died at EPUT. And I think you've answered that OxyHealth were aware of that and were engaging with the provider.
That's correct, yes.
Is this a concern, this muting or resetting, that has arisen in other trusts that you're aware of?
I may be aware of one other incident.
Thank you. Does OxyHealth accept that this may be linked to alarm fatigue?
I think the config of alarms is regularly reviewed by organisations. And I think this comes down to staff engagement and staff communication, again, around standard operating procedures. So an example would be another piece of technology on the ward, say, for instance, a defib machine. You wouldn't expect staff to go and unplug that if that's being charged within a clinical room. So therefore, it's around that communication with staff that the volume is the volume and you don't touch it.
Zephyr Trent refers to tablet volumes being preset at 75%, as we've just heard. Are there any other ways that the system is designed so that staff can't simply ignore alerts?
So we've spoken about the volume preset. I suppose if staff didn't have access to the tablets, if they made a conscious decision to not engage with the tablets, there could be a possibility. But again, this is an assistive piece of technology.
Thank you. Just moving on now to video, continuing with concerns that have been raised about the operation of Oxyvision. I'd like to begin just by ensuring I understand the different ways in which video can be accessed by those operating Oxyvision and the circumstances in which video data can be captured. So we've heard about the 15 seconds clear view, also that can be used not just for vital signs checks, but for the purpose of conducting remote observations, correct?
It's the vital sign check within the observation, so it's exactly the same as how you would access it via the room tile. That's just built into being able to access as part of those mental health observations as well.
And up to 15 seconds of blurred video data following a notification, yes?
That's correct.
Just dealing with blurred video, please. You tell us in your first statement that blurred video data is typically kept for 3 months. That's paragraph 131. What is the purpose of retaining blurred video data at all?
Sorry, what paragraph?
Paragraph 131.
Mm-hmm. So, if I, again, provide an example. So if a customer notified us of a serious incident and said we expected an alert to be triggered, we would be able to take a look via the anonymised video data. Again, it's anonymised. You can, and I think it's also important to note that you can roughly tell where a human is within the room, and it's 1 frame per second. So it's more like a series of images rather than a complete video. So yes, so we would be able to check if that alert has triggered or hasn't triggered, or what was going on. But again, following a customer query, that would be.
Why for 3 months? Why keep it for 3 months?
I'm not sure why 3 months. I wasn't involved in that decision.
Thank you. OxyHealth's current clinical project meeting slide deck says that in addition to viewing up to 15 seconds of live blurred video during safety notifications, you can replay 10 minutes of blurred video after safety notifications. Is that correct?
Again, it's configurable, so you would be able to, it would provide you with 5 minutes of blurred video before an alert was raised, and then 5 minutes after. So again, if, an example would be if somebody has had a fall within a room, you would be able to check what happened in the lead up to that fall, how that fall occurred. Has that person hit their head? Is it simply down to the layout of a room? So do pieces of furniture need to be moved to prevent that from happening again? So from a learning lessons point of view.
Are you aware if ePut have the 10 minutes blurred video replay facility?
Again, you would have to ask EPA, or I can find out for you.
How long has it been available, that facility?
Again, I would have to find out to give you the accurate date.
Thank you very much. You refer in your first statement to guidelines for using the OxyHealth system that were provided to ePut in February 2020. Could we go to OXHE 009047 at page 3, please? Thank you. So these guidelines from, or at least that were provided in 2020, say the use of the OxyHealth system for bedroom observations. Observing staff should ensure that when a patient is in the OxyHealth room, they take and document the vital signs of that patient every 15 minutes. So at every 15 minutes, use the OxyHealth system to take the patient's pulse and or breathing rate, document the vital signs on the observation sheet, including any visual causes for concern and actions to take. This will include any unusual signs or abnormalities notices from the results. Does that remain Oxy Health's advice?
No, so this was provided in the very early days, so 2020, and this was around providing a sample, so an example of possible guidelines. This isn't how, we're not directing how the system should be used.
So the provider, in our case ePut, will decide what level of observations is appropriate on a patient basis, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think every 15 minutes is level 2 observations, is that correct?
It depends on where you work and what the environment is.
But there are more enhanced versions of observations that require closer observation of a patient, correct?
Yes, so there tends to be 4 levels of observation, so general, intermittent, eyesight, and then arm's length.
So this would be intermittent, every 15 minutes or so?
Well, I've worked somewhere where this was general observations every 15 minutes.
I think I'm not going to get very far with this. Generally speaking, is it right that a member of staff may legitimately be accessing clear video data of a patient multiple times an hour, particularly if they fail successfully to take vital signs measurements on the first attempt?
Possibly, if that's care planned for that patient. And
is it also correct that the patient will not know when those observations are being made with any given hour?
Yes, so they're sporadic.
And all they'll be aware of is the camera in their room, not when someone is watching them through it.
That's correct.
Can you take that down, please? Is there also a concern about the misuse of the system by staff? For example, the possibility that staff accessing the clear video facility multiple times, that they access it multiple times in a row, effectively providing a much longer live feed of a patient?
That is possible. However, I think we've spoken about the safeguards that can be put in place to deter that from happening, as well as those safeguards outside of the system as well, and the usage reports.
Thank you. But in theory, a member of staff would be able repeatedly to access up to 15 seconds of clear view data, video feed.
That's correct.
Isn't that effectively CCTV?
It's not designed as CCTV or surveillance, and it's not designed for that use.
But it can be used for that use, in that way?
You would hope that people wouldn't use it in that way. I don't think anybody goes to work purposely to not carry out their job correctly. But yeah, it's not designed to be used in that way.
Hat Porter, on behalf of Stop Oxyvision, has referred to this point about there being no way of knowing if someone is watching, particularly, for example, if you're getting undressed. They say there is always the potential that someone's looking, and they describe this as intrusive, undignified, dehumanising and traumatising. Do you understand such concerns?
I do understand.
Are you aware of concerns about patients feeling distressed or experiencing a worsening of his existing paranoia or psychosis by having a camera in their room?
I do understand that from certain individuals. Yes.
The inquiry will be hearing troubling evidence from Tammy Smith about her daughter, Sophie Alderman, that the presence of what is presumed to have been an Oxyvision camera in her room caused or exacerbated severe paranoia. To what extent does Oxy Health consider that it has a responsibility to minimise or mitigate long-term trauma experienced by some patients as a result of the presence of a camera in their room?
I think, as I said earlier, we recognise the fact that this platform or the use of the platform may not be suitable for everyone. However, I'd just like to highlight that, again, from one of our providers, that there was a patient who had previous traumas and found it very distressing to have male staff conducting what he described as obtrusive nighttime observations. And the MDT had discussions with the patient and made a decision that actually to use the system at night to stop that for him, to stop that introducing trauma for him.
But that goes back, if I understand it, to your point that there should be individual assessment of the use of the system on a patient-by-patient basis.
That's correct.
Thank you. We've also talked about vital signs trends and the fact that the system is always trying to engage with the person in the room in order to get average vital signs information, correct?
That's correct.
Can you see how knowledge that a system is trying to engage with an individual regularly or constantly to take their vital signs might of itself be of concern to them?
Again, yes, and that's where those conversations and assessments should take place, and ensuring that patients know what the system is and what it does and what it doesn't do and how staff are going to use it.
Would you accept the operation of Oxyvision, whether just by the presence of a camera in the bedroom or whether by a way of allowing for access to clear or blurred video, or by constantly and automatically engaging with a patient in the background, marks a substantial invasion of their privacy in their bedrooms?
Again, as I've said, the use of the technology may not be suitable for everyone. But there's a flip side to that as well, and that's where those conversations with clinicians, patients and their carers need to take place.
Thank you very much. I'd like now to ask you about whether Oxyvision can fairly be compared with CCTV or forms of surveillance, please. We've already touched on the possibility of multiple views of clear video. Can we look at what you said in your second statement about this? I'm going to have it put up on the screen. It's OXHE009987. Thank you. It's your paragraph 7 to 9. The use of the words CCTV and surveillance. Oxy4Health has noted that in the concerns raised by Stop Oxyvision and in other materials, the Oxyvision system has been described as CCTV and surveillance. We consider these terms to be inaccurate and not reflective of the system's true nature or functionality. It differs from both of these systems in the following ways. For CCTV and surveillance systems, video images are available continuously, with a live video feed visible on a screen. This is not the case with Oxyvision. Oxyvision does not display continuous video images. A user can only see a clear video feed into a room for a maximum of 15 seconds when taking a patient's vital signs. There are no other circumstances where staff can see clearly into a room. Oxyvision is designed to provide clinicians with valuable clinical insights and data which CCTV and surveillance systems do not. Is that all correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Could you take that down? Can we look at the position with clear video data, please? We've covered this in part already, but I want to return to it. You've said that Oxyvision has the ability to deliver secure video recording under strict controls to support the investigation of safety incidents. This is paragraph 22 and 132 of your first statement. You say that clear video data is encrypted and stored on servers on site at ePut, and you add that it's automatically deleted from the server after 24 hours. And you were earlier on talking about a 24-hour buffer. Is that is that describing what this says?
That's correct.
Thank you. Is the situation then that OxyHealth can retrieve clear video data from servers held at ePut, but that a request for this data must be made by ePut within 24 hours?
So no one from OxyHealth can view that video data. However, yes, if a customer requests it, so ePut, it's stored on their local server, we can prevent that from being auto-deleted on that buffer, and then that's delivered to a nominated person at ePut, and that's clearly outlined within their standard operating procedure, and there's governance and controls over that.
That could be a member of their legal team, for example.
I believe it is.
Thank you. We've got 24 hours that we're talking about. What is actually available to access over that 24-hour period? So we've spoken about accessing up to 15 seconds of clear view data for the purposes of vital signs observations. Is what is accessible limited to those 15-second intervals when members of staff have interacted with the system, or is it actually possible to access more clear video than that?
For the purpose of a serious incident?
Yes, so let's assume there's been a serious incident. A request is made by a provider for assistance from OxyHealth. You've spoken about a 24-hour period. What is actually available to access for that 24-hour period?
So, again, an example. So if a serious incident occurred between the hours of 6 and 7 in the evening, a provider could request for that hour of clear video data to be saved, so it's not auto-deleted, in order to be able to review what has happened to a patient.
So can we just take stock? Does that mean that the Oxyvision camera is on and recording clear video all the time?
So it has that clear video buffer for a 24-hour period if the system is switched on. And again, that is a choice for an organisation. That's not, they don't have to have that.
I understand
so
that ePut do have this facility, correct?
They do.
So let's just recap. The camera in the patient's room, if it's switched on, is recording all the time. Correct?
That's correct. But nobody has access to that unless that's requested and under those strict governance.
But it could be requested and it could subsequently feature in a criminal trial or an inquest, correct?
That is correct. Again, the Nurse Directors Forum guidance has got a section in there about the use of video data and data in investigations. And again, that would be dependent on the provider of what they deem as appropriate use of that.
Understood. But it's pretty significant, isn't it, if an Oxyvision camera, when the system is on, is filming all the time? Isn't it something that patients should know about?
I agree they should know about. They should know what the system does and doesn't do and how that may be used.
Do you know whether trusts and providers such as ePut actually explain that to their patients?
So again, referring back to one piece of the national guidance, which is the Nurse Directors Forum guidance, it's clear in there what should be communicated with patients. It should be completely open and transparent.
Has OxyHealth ever advised that this specific aspect of the system should be communicated to patients?
I think we always say that patients should be informed about what the system does and doesn't do and any data around the system.
Would you agree that filming a patient 24 hours a day constitutes a very significant invasion of privacy?
Possibly, yes.
A patient would want to know, for example, I put to you, because they may want to get changed in the bathroom rather than in their bedroom. Would you agree?
again, it's that communication with patients.
So there are practical circumstances that arise from the fact that the camera is always filming. Can we go, you've mentioned this, the CQC guide, and I'd like to go and have a look at that, please. Your second statement mentions that in August 2025, the Care Quality Commission published a guide on digital contactless patient monitoring technologies in mental health inpatient services. The full title is Brief Guide, Digital Contactless Patient Monitoring Technologies in Mental Health Inpatient Units. Is it right that the guide sets out what CQC inspectors look at when inspecting services that use digital contactless patient monitoring technologies?
That's correct.
And that it applies in mental health settings?
That's correct.
Amanda, could you put up OXHE 010156 at page 5? This is from August 2025. Can we see here our position on the use of digital contactless patient monitoring technologies by mental health inpatient services? And just the second bullet point, these technologies should not be used for covert surveillance purposes. Surveillance should not be carried out in a way that is designed to make people unaware that surveillance is or may be taking place. This guidance must not be interpreted as CQC tasking or authorising covert surveillance activity. Do you accept that a camera in a patient's room which records continual footage and stores it without their knowledge constitutes in most people's minds the use of a CCTV system for surveillance purposes?
I think the important thing there is about, with their knowledge, again, it's about informing them about the system, what it does, what it doesn't do, and in what circumstances this type of data may be accessed or reviewed.
Thank you. Could you take that down, please? Just moving to look where the video data we've been talking about is kept. Could you put up EPUT 009018 at page 20? This is part of the data protection, the DPIA from EPUT from 2024, the data protection impact assessment. Can we go to the bottom of 14? We just see there, are you transferring information? And then could you go over the page, please, and expand from the top, thank you, to just above, put an X next to all that apply at the bottom. Well, that's fine, actually, don't worry. So the question was, are you transferring information? We can see that yes is ticked. How will that information be transferred? We use a cloud-based strategy to provide clear video data. We'll come back to that. Sorry, would you expand down? Thank you. And then we see, how will you ensure that information is safe and secure? All data generated by the Oxyvision system is stored on local secure servers at EPUT Oxyvision deployed sites. So that's a point we've covered already, isn't it? Some data, we'll come back to work out what these acronyms mean in a moment. AVD, APD, UIOD, SID, and PHRD is backed up to OxyHealth's secure cloud servers provided by Amazon Web Services. And you go on to say that those are based in UK data centres. So some data is actually held by OxyHealth, correct?
That's correct. That's not personally identifiable data.
Thank you. So can we just go back to using a cloud-based strategy to provide clear video data? Would this be data that's being provided from EPUT to OxyHealth following an incident? Is this tracking actually physically how that data would go to OxyHealth?
No, I believe that this is an EPUT document.
Yes, I know.
I believe that what they're referring to here is the transfer of that clear video data, should they have requested it, and how that is transferred to them.
So that's coming from OxyHealth and going to ePut?
It's coming from the servers on ePut that we are transferring. So that's only because it's got the word egress there. So egress is it's used by the NHS anyway to transfer and send data. It's a secure delivery platform.
I think rather than getting you to try and interpret another organisation's document, I think I can simplify this. When clear video data is needed, for example, following an incident for an investigation, we've heard that the data is held on a server at the provider, in our case, ePut. But we've also heard that it requires access from OxyHealth to access the data, correct?
We don't access the data, no, because it's completely encrypted.
Sorry, it requires OxyHealth's involvement to provide the data from the server to, for example, a member of ePut's legal team.
In the simplest terms, yes.
Is there any stage at which that data is held by OxyHealth rather than by ePut, as far as you're aware?
The clear video data, no.
Are there any circumstances in which OxyHealth might obtain and retain a patient's clear video data, for example, for research purposes or to develop further functionality?
No.
You say that with great certainty. You're sure about that?
Yes. I wonder whether it's important to say... So again, this is from experience. So I have seen some clear video data when I have been involved with inquests, but that's not. I haven't accessed that from OxyHealth's point of view. That's been provided via the coroner.
Thank you.
I think it's just important to highlight that.
Yeah. You know, we've seen those acronyms. Can we come back to that? Could we go to page 23 of this document, please? Could you expand the second, third and fourth paragraphs? So from anonymised data, that's perfect. So this just describes what those acronyms are. So we saw AVD, and that's anonymised or blurred video data, correct?
That's correct.
Then we see algorithm processed data. Do you know what that is?
So that is, my understanding is it's in mathematical format. So it's number format of things like pulse and breathing rate. But it's not, when I say mathematical, it's not just a number. There's...
So it's data of some form?
Yes.
And user interface output data. Do you know what that is?
So that is what I referred to earlier in relation to room states, device usage, what alerts have been triggered.
And so this says they don't constitute personal data in circumstances where OxyHealth does not have access to clear video data. Now, I think that's a point you made earlier about blurred video. Can we just see this? OxyHealth only uses these data to provide OxyHealth service to the ePut and for monitoring and improving the OxyHealth system. And OxyHealth has a retention policy of 2 years for these data after they'll be deleted. So, for example, blurred video data is accessed and retained by OxyHealth for up to 2 years. Is that correct? As far as you're aware?
As far as I'm aware, it's for 3 months.
So
but again, this is an ePut document.
Okay. So that's something we can resolve, but for a period of time, whether it's months or years. And that one of the reasons for keeping the data, as we can see there, is for improving the OxyHealth system. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. So all algorithm and product creation, so that's including the medical devices, is carried out on data owned by OxyHealth and collected with explicit consent of individuals. So an example of this would be OxyHealth staff. So if we've got a demo room within our office, if we're looking at product development or algorithm creation, then we will use OxyHealth staff for that, or individuals with explicit consent.
Thank you. But just dealing with blurred, anonymised or blurred video data, could that be retained and kept to improve the OxyHealth system?
As far as I'm aware, no.
So we may come back to you about some of this data protection stuff, and you could follow up if necessary in that way.
I can
Would you
do
be
that,
willing
yeah.
to do that?
Yeah. I'm not the data protection officer. That's not my area of expertise.
I totally understand, and that's the reason why I think we may follow up separately following this. Could you take that down, please? May I ask one more question about clear video? Can a member of staff access a clear video on a tablet prior to making a vital signs check? I think the answer is yes, but I just wanted to double check.
Yes, the tablet devices and the fixed screen work in exactly the same way.
Isn't there a danger that other patients or people near to the staff member using the tablet may be able to see the clear video data as well, the clear video view?
Again, that's something that I would expect staff who are using the system to be well aware of. The same as if you were having a conversation with a patient that may contain sensitive information, you wouldn't do it in a day area.
We're going to come on to consent in a moment and the circumstances in which a camera may be switched off. Before we do, I'd like to cover with you whether there's currently any way for patients to be certain that Oxyvision has been turned off in their room. You spoke about the infrared element glowing red, for example, even I think if the system is off or not recording, correct?
That's correct.
So patients would have no way of knowing whether the camera was on or switched off.
So I think those conversations with staff, and I have heard examples of organisations where staff may show the patient the home screen, so that's the room tiles, and it would specifically say on the room tile, camera off.
That would involve some human interaction to put them on notice that the system had been switched off, correct?
Yes.
Can I ask a very basic question? Forgive my ignorance. Why can't the infrared light be switched off?
So that's one thing that we're looking at. So currently, when the system is switched off and not recording any data, it's due to how the housing unit's powered. Again, it's powered. So, for example, by one cable. Again, this is an example. So therefore you can turn the camera off, but that power is still running through. But that's something that we're looking at in relation to the redesign.
So you could have a system where the light went off?
Yes, it's possible, yeah.
Zevon Trent has said in his third statement that ePut understands from OxyHealth that nothing can be done about that design element, the light, which you've just said. However, OxyHealth have agreed to produce new housing to try and alleviate concerns about privacy, and subject to consultation and feasibility, this will be rolled out in 2026. Do you know whether that's still on track for delivery in 2026?
As far as I'm aware, yes. So we are developing that new monitoring unit. No decisions have been made to date. But as far as I'm aware, that is on track.
Do you know why it's taken so long to provide that solution, or is taking so long to provide that solution?
I think there's many things that play into that, and that is the design of something that is suitable for mental health environments. So there are certain standards within some environments that need to be so tamper-proof and things like that. And
Thank you. We've covered a number of concerns that have been raised about the operation of Oxyvision. Do you accept that its operation has caused real concern to patients for a variety of reasons?
sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you accept that the operation of Oxyvision has caused real concerns to patients for a variety of reasons?
So I accept that some people will have concerns about the system. And again, going back to what I said earlier, that this may not be right for everybody, but there are some patients that do benefit from it.
Thank you very much. Moving now to the issue of consent to the use of Oxyvision. In your first statement, this is just for your reference, 77 and 78, you say that OxyHealth has always stated that where the OxyHealth system is installed, all service users and their carers are informed, and that consent for its use whilst within inpatient services will be required. So it has always stated that. And you say in the next paragraph, it is OxyHealth's understanding that on admission to the ward, all patients and family members will be informed about the OxyHealth system and will be provided with a leaflet to explain what, when, and how they record patient safety, patient activity, and vital sign measurements. Does that remain the position?
That's correct. When we talk about leaflets, we talk about those national co-produced leaflets to ensure that there is consistency nationally with how the system is explained and what it does and doesn't do.
And in fact, we may look at a leaflet tomorrow with Mr. Trent. OxyHealth guidance on consent and signage for patients, staff and visitors from December 2019. You refer in your statement to this. It's paragraph 80 of your first statement. And I'd like to look at it, please. Could you put up OXHE 009044, please, first page? Could we see, oh, that is it, thank you very much. Can we see that this says signage and consent, guidance for customers? This is an OxyHealth document. And can we see actually the date there is December 2019? Can we go to page 3 of this document, please, and expand the text in the top half? Signage and consent. Patients. Customers should consider the potential impact of the OxyHealth technology on any people who may be recorded by it. These fall into 3 groups, and the first of the groups is patients, right? If this system is being used in the normal course of treatment, we do not believe there is a need to obtain consent. And many customers do not seek consent. However, some customers do choose to consent patients who have capacity. We recommend you place signage notifying patients of the use of the technology. For example, OxyHealth monitoring system in use. Please ask ward staff if you wish to learn more. We'll come on to the rest in a moment. But the suggestion here at the end of 2019 is that OxyHealth did not believe that there was a need to obtain consent if the system was being used in the normal course of treatment. Do you know what the basis was for suggesting that no consent was necessary?
I don't. So this predated my employment with OxyHealth. However, from my perspective, I believe that we shouldn't have said that. However, I do believe it was with the best intention. And it was caveated, I think that's the next page in the document, that states each organisation should seek their own independent legal advice on consent. We now don't advocate for any model of consent at all, apart from what I'd said earlier, that patients have got to be informed and carers. And I think what we do is point providers and organisations to the national guidance out there, so the nurse directors,
We're
NHSE.
going to come on to that. Just looking a little bit more at what's on the screen, we recommend that patients with capacity or their representatives who inquire about the system should have the right to request that identifiable video data are deleted. We recommend they also have the right to request the system is turned off. Just for context there, could we take that down, please? So you've referred a couple of times to the Nurse Directors Forum national recommendations from 2022, correct?
That's correct.
So these are from the 29th of September 2022, and you tell us in your first statement, I think this is paragraph 44, the National Mental Health and Learning Disability Nurse Directors Forum, should we call it the NDF, co-produced national recommendations, guidance and best practice on safe use of vision-based monitoring, patient monitoring systems. Is it right that the working group that created the report included a representative from OxyHealth?
It did, on the basis that this was a new technology. This technology didn't exist, and therefore ensuring that there was full understanding and knowledge of what the system did, what it didn't do, etc.
In fact, was that the UK Managing Director, so fairly high level?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
I think there's a list of all names that were involved in the guidance.
Correct. Does the guidance suggest an approach to the issue of consent?
There is a section on consent within the guidance.
Shall we look at it? Could you put up OXHE 009034 at page 6, please? So it says we've provided two options for how to implement an informed consent regime. And then just dropping to the third paragraph, whilst we put two positions regarding informed consent here that providers may consider, we are in no way recommending either of the approaches. So the two informed consent positions below each have advantages and disadvantages and need clarity and proper structure in their implementation to ensure the guidelines are followed. And can we see that the first of the two positions is implicit consent on the screen? Number one, implicit consent.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah. All service users are opted in on admission as part of the standard practice of the ward. Service users can raise questions and concerns, and there should be regular opportunities for service users to be engaged by staff in conversation about their questions and concerns. And we can see the responsible clinician will decide whether to withdraw the use of the technology if in the best interest of the patient, taking into account the balance with individual preference, safety risk management and other alternatives. Can we go to the top of the next page, please? Thank you. And we can see at the top there, dealing with the implicit consent model, this approach needs open and honest communication. I think that picks up on what you've been talking about previously with the patient.
That's correct.
And it says towards the bottom, it should be noted that most providers who have deployed VB-PMS to date have made use of some form of this informed implicit consent model. So this is recommendations from September 2022. So as at that time, that model seems to have been the one that was being favoured according to this.
That's correct. I think it's important to add as well, so I'm aware of two providers that one sought or consulted with the British Institute of Human Rights and one consulted with the Information Commissioner's Office. However, both came up with a different consent model.
So not one of the two that we're looking at?
So no, I think it's all the national guidance, including this document, NHSE principles, CQC guidance, highlight how complex the issue of consent can be and needs careful consideration.
Thank you. Can we look at the second model here, explicit consent? And we see here service users opt in upon admission with due consideration given to an individual's capacity to make this decision. And it says this approach requires significantly more staff confidence and competence to administer in practice. So is this approach putting forward two models but not saying to providers which or they should actually be using? Do you think that reflected Oxy Health's views at the time, given that there was a high-level representation on the NDF from Oxy Health?
I believe so, and I think it does say there at that last paragraph that it is recommended that all healthcare providing organisations receive their own legal and ethical advice on that position as well.
And that picks up on a point you were making a little earlier as well.
Yes, that's correct.
Could you take that down, please? You've also mentioned the NHS England principles, and they came out in February 2025. Principles for using digital technologies in mental health inpatient treatment and care. You explain in your statement, this is your first statement from paragraph 52, that the principles detail 8 principles to guide decision-making on procurement, implementation and the use of digital technologies in mental health inpatient settings, and that it says the use of digital technology can support inpatient care, giving patients a greater voice and choice in their care, and it says the use of digital technology should be accompanied by personalised clinical decision-making. You say, and I quote from your paragraph 55, Oxy Health agrees with this position and warmly welcomes the publication of these principles, all of which are consistent with the appropriate use of the Oxyvision system. Can we just look at the principle that deals with consent and capacity? Would you put up EPUT 00900 at page 3? Thank you. Here we see principle 2, consent and capacity. Any decision to use digital technologies and to collect and store patient data from the use of such technologies must be based on consent from the patient or a person lawfully acting on their behalf, or be taken following a best interest decision-making process. And we can see where a patient has the capacity to consent to the use of digital technology in connection with their care and treatment, consent should always be sought from the patient, and the use of the digital technology should be regularly reviewed with them, and if appropriate, with their families and carers. Can you confirm that Oxy Health considers this principle in particular to be consistent with the appropriate use of the Oxyvision system?
Yes.
Would you agree with this, and I think it may follow from what you've said, that Oxyvision should not be used in an undifferentiated way, that it's on in all rooms in an inpatient unit with as a default?
Sorry, say that again.
Would you agree with this, that Oxyvision should not be used in an undifferentiated way, that is, in all rooms in an inpatient unit, with the default being that it's turned on?
So on the whole, yes, I think there possibly may be a situation. So when you're looking at things around, and I think the CQC guidance highlights this, that may differ slightly when considering detention under the Mental Health Act. Yeah.
Thank you. But in principle, shouldn't it be used for specific patients in specific situations, decided on a case-by-case basis?
Again, it's that individualised care that we've spoken about.
With informed consent explicitly obtained from patients with capacity?
Yes.
Hat Porter, on behalf of Stop Oxyvision, suggests that the possibility of genuine consent is undermined in mental health inpatient units where there's little awareness of rights and patients may be unable to advocate for themselves. In all of the circumstances, they maintain that Oxyvision technology is not compatible with the legal treatment of mental health inpatients and that it could never be appropriate for consent to be given. How do you respond to that suggestion?
I think consent is very complex, and I don't think anyone's denying that. And I think when you look at the guidance, I think that also indicates that actually it's a very complex subject, especially when you've got considerations around capacity, best interests decisions, and then you've got the Mental Health Act possibly on top of that as well. So it's a very complex area. However, those conversations should be individualised and open and transparent.
Thank you. Could you take that down, please? You tell us in your first statement that each organisation is responsible for developing their own standard operating procedures, or SOPs, for the use of Oxyvision. It's 29. But that OxyHealth supports this by providing various documents and information. As you'll know, EPUT produced an updated SOP for the use of Oxyvision on the 30th of April this year, which was published on the 7th of May. A flowchart in the SOP says that the Oxyvision system is currently in an on state at admission, and the patient will be required to give informed consent for the Oxyvision system to remain on, or the Oxyvision system will be switched off within 6 hours. I'll be asking Mr. Trent about the SOP in more detail tomorrow, but for present purposes, I just want to ask you this. Do you think it's appropriate that the system is on as default for all patients for up to 6 hours?
So EPUT know their patient population with backgrounds. I think that I think there could be a conversation either way on that. If that's what they deem to be appropriate, then that's their decision.
You say that EPUT know their patient population, but isn't the whole point that patient population will be extremely varied, each with their own personal characteristics? And I think this chimes with what you were saying earlier. Really, decisions need to be made on a case-by-case basis.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Can we move now to research being conducted into vision-based monitoring systems, such as Oxyvision? And as I've mentioned, this is an area that the expert health statistician will be reviewing. I'd like to go to your first statement, to part of it that we've actually looked at before, but just to remind ourselves, could you please put up the first statement, paragraphs 41 and 42? So you talk here about the extensive evidence base demonstrating the clinical and operational value of OxyHealth's contactless patient monitoring system. And you talk about what the evaluations show. We've read this before. And you say most of this research is based on provider-led service evaluations, a number of which have culminated in peer-reviewed journal publications. And then you go on to talk about the key findings that we had a look at earlier. That presents a very positive picture of what the research shows, doesn't it?
I think it's an honest picture.
Do you know to what extent the research incorporates patient feedback?
Without looking at each of the individual publications, no.
Fine, thank you. Could you take that down, please? You refer in your second statement, this is paragraph 68 and 69, to a literature review commissioned by the CQC. Is it right that this was a rapid literature review reporting in July this year with analysis of 68 research documents?
I believe so.
Is its full title Exploring Evidence Regarding Vision-Based Monitoring in Inpatient Mental Health Units?
Is that the literature review
Sorry, yes,
or the
no, the
guidance
literature review is
the
what I'm
literature
talking
review.
about now.
Okay.
Yeah, so just the full title, Exploring Evidence Regarding Vision-Based Monitoring in Inpatient Mental Health Units, correct? That's the title.
I haven't got that, but yes.
You could take it from me. And in fact, that then informed the CQC guide that we've talked about.
That's correct.
Thank you. You quote from the review, and so it's something that I assume you've looked at yourself.
I have, briefly.
Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you about bits of it without taking you to them. Can we look at part of the report, please? Could you put up OXHE009976 at page 3, please? That's OXHE009976 at page 3. Thank you. Could you expand paragraph 4? That's fine, thank you. So this says the evidence was qualitatively reviewed against the Nesta Standards of Evidence framework. Based on this framework, the overall quality of the evidence base is varied. It's important to highlight that a significant proportion of the evidence reviewed was developed or contributed to by individuals or organisations with a particular interest in VBMS. This meant that much of the literature presents evidence from a particular viewpoint or perspective of VBMS. Do you agree that overall the evidence base is currently varied?
If that's what they found from their literature review.
The review goes on to identify the need for further development of the evidence base and suggests that the voices of people with lived experience are critically important. Do you agree that there's a need for further development of the evidence base?
I think there's always the need to increase evidence base, whether you're talking about a piece of technology or anything else.
Is there in fact currently insufficient evidence to suggest that technologies such as Oxyvision used in inpatient mental health settings are achieving the outcomes that have been employed, that they have been employed to achieve?
No, I don't agree with that.
Thank you. Could you take that down, please? Just dealing quickly with the rollout of Oxyvision within the NHS and then at EPUT. Starting with the NHS, you explain in your first statement that Oxyvision is currently used by approximately 50% of the National Health Service mental health trusts, and that it's supported 70 million hours of inpatient care. That was up to the end of January this year. In your view, why do so many trusts use Oxyvision?
I think so many trusts use it because they see the benefit of the technology, and I think I've highlighted a couple of those anecdotal quotes from organisations and for how this has had a positive impact on patients' recovery and a patient's journey within services.
Moving then to EPUT, you helpfully set out in your first statement that signing of contracts and rollout, you talk about that of Oxyvision at EPUT, and you explain that Oxyvision first went live there on the Peterborough and Ardley wards on the 3rd of April 2000. This is paragraph 63 onwards.
Yeah.
A document provided by Mr. Trent explains the position at EPUT as at April this year, and that Oxyvision is currently on 30 inpatient wards, 4 health-based places of safety, 8, seclusion and long-term segregation, and 2, intensive care rooms. Is EPUT unusual in the extent of the rollout of Oxyvision there?
In comparison to other organisations?
Yes.
No.
Thank you. Can we move then to a final topic, and that is OxyHealth responsibility for the operation of Oxyvision. In your witness statements and today, you appear to draw a distinction between the system offered by OxyHealth on the one side and the way the system is actually deployed by a trust, such as EPUT, on the other. And to what extent do you think that OxyHealth can distance itself from the way in which its product is actually used in mental health inpatient units?
I don't think it's about distancing ourselves. It's about having those open, honest conversations with the organisations that we work with in relation to the product, as well as our experts by experience that we work with as well.
Do you accept that as the developer, manufacturer, retailer and ongoing provider of a product used on vulnerable inpatients, you have a responsibility towards those on whom the product will be used?
I think that's why we work with a very large group of experts by experience from diverse backgrounds, both those that have had inpatient experience as well as carers that have cared for someone within inpatient services. And they work with us on a number of projects. I think between 2023 and 2024, I think there was 24 projects that our experts by experience worked with us on.
Thank you very much. Chair, that's the end of the questions I have at the moment. Could we break just to see if there are more questions that need to be put to the witness? I'm aware that we're now at 4:45, so we'll just take stock about that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Cousins, just a few more questions. I'd like to ask you first about the activity tracker. You cover this in your first statement at paragraph 34, and you say there that in November 2022, the activity tracker IFU, is that instructions for use, was published and included intended use warnings and cautions for the use of Oxyvision activity tracker, the part of the system that provides location and activity-based warnings and alerts. And you go on to say that there have been updates to the instructions and that it's available on the Oxyvision fixed monitor, the instructions, and from April 24 via your training system, online training system, Oxy Academy. Could you just explain a little bit more about the activity tracker and what you're talking about there in your statement, please?
So I spoke about earlier the various reports that the system can provide. So the activity report is one of these reports. Now, that provides, again, it's almost like a bar chart. So down the left-hand side, you've got the days of the weeks over a 7-day period. And across the bottom, you've got hours, which cover the 24 hours. What this shows is the activity within that room during those periods of time. So there's a colour key as well at the top, a colour-coded key. So this could show staff how long somebody's spent in bed, how long somebody's spent in their room, how long they've spent out of the room. It just provides that information that can be used as part of staff handovers, care planning, MDT, so weekly ward round discussions.
So it's there as an element of the system to assist staff?
Staff and patients. So in my previous role, I've used these reports with patients as part of their care planning.
Thank you very much. Given the advertised primary functionality of Oxyvision to monitor vital signs, would you accept that the fact that it has not been rolled out in any physical healthcare settings is indicative of the relevant providers having concerns about its use? So this would be concerns in physical settings about the use of Oxyvision.
So I don't think the vital signs function is the primary use. I think that is an element of the system. I think the platform provides so much other information that can be useful for staff and patients. I believe there may be a possibility in the future that it could be rolled out within physical healthcare settings.
Thank you. Would you accept that in a psychiatric inpatient context, conducting therapeutic as opposed to physical vital signs observations requires staff members to engage with the patient where awake to ensure there are no adverse changes to their mental welfare that require escalation?
Yes, I agree with that. When a patient is awake, the purpose of that therapeutic engagement, observation. However, I do believe when somebody's sleeping, and I think we've spoken about...
You've made that very clear, that the advantages of not disturbing someone at night.
Yes.
Is it your view that therapeutic observations should only be conducted remotely via OxyObs in circumstances where a patient is asleep?
Yes, yeah. So if somebody's asleep, and again, I think it's dependent on the patient as well. So the context of the patient and those conversations that have happened with the patient. I wouldn't advocate that this is done without any conversation with the patient.
But the question is it your view that therapeutic observations should only be conducted remotely via OxyObs when the patient's asleep? So that's suggesting it shouldn't be used during the day. Is your answer to that it depends on the patient? Again,
it depends on that individual. There may be circumstances that it is suitable to use during the day.
If a patient is awake, would you accept that conducting therapeutic observations remotely may impair a staff member's ability to discern whether the patient is suffering from signs of mental distress or deterioration?
Yes. If somebody's awake, then those observations need to be therapeutic. Therapeutic involves conversations with patients.
How much has Oxyvision charged EPUT for its services since implementation?
I'm unaware of that. That's not, again, within my job role.
Would you be aware whether it ran into millions of pounds, for example?
I don't know, I'm sorry.
You were asked about savings to providers and responded by saying that the time was saved in terms of paperwork and time spent responding to an incident such as a fall. The OxyHealth Leo website currently states in its benefits to providers section, under the heading Lowering Costs and Realising Time to Care, lower need for one-to-one continuous observation. Do you accept that saving staff costs on time for observations is an explicit part of OxyHealth's promotional model?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah,
Sorry.
of course. So the website currently refers to one of the benefits of the system as being lowering costs and realising time to care. And it says a lower need for one-to-one continuous observation. So that's being used on the website as an example of a benefit. And the question is, do you accept that saving staff costs on time for observations is an explicit part of OxyHealth's promotional model?
So I think if you've got an environment where staff are provided with up-to-date and accurate information, This may save time and costs of having additional staff over and above that safe staffing number, that substantive establishment that we spoke about.
Okay, thank you. You stated that you recognise that the platform is not suitable for everyone. To what extent is that fact communicated to providers at the point of piloting the scheme?
So I recognise that the platform may not be suitable for everybody, and I would expect that providers are able to recognise that as well.
So the expectation would be that the provider, the trust or whoever, should be aware of that fact themselves.
So I think it's also within, and again, I would have to go back and double check this, but I think there is an element of that within the Nurse Directors Forum as well.
Thank you. How, if at all, did OxyHealth anticipate that alerts might be marked as resolved or alerts might be muted without a physical observation taking place?
Again, it's about providers providing clear guidance to their staff about how they expect alerts to be responded to.
No, I understand that. The question, though, is actually about OxyHealth and whether, and if so, how, OxyHealth anticipated that alerts might be marked as resolved and or muted without a physical observation having been taken before the muting, for example. Is that something OxyHealth anticipated might happen on wards?
No, I don't believe so.
Inquests have noted repeated issues with training on Oxyvision, noting the language used by OxyHealth to describe its own system, for example, contact-free, vital signs observations, ambient monitoring unit, vision-based monitoring technology, and observation modules. Do you accept that OxyHealth's use of language may have contributed to confusion as to whether Oxyvision should be used by staff in lieu of physical observations?
No, we try. So the use of ambient monitoring, I don't believe that's ever been discussed at an inquest that I've been part of or at. I think we try and be as clear as possible around our language, especially within our training materials to staff as well.
Thank you. Are you always updated by individual trusts when they update their Oxyvision protocols?
No. We don't hold copies of organisations' protocols.
You were asked about the problem at EPUT with staff lowering the volume and or resetting the alarm, and were asked whether, to your knowledge, this was a problem in other trusts. You said, I may be aware of one other incident. Can you explain, do you mean one incident only, or one other trust where this is a problem?
So I'm aware of one incident at one trust that I can think of off the top of my head.
Which trust was that?
It was a northern trust.
Do you know the name of the trust?
No, without going away and looking at it. But I know what the incident was.
Okay. At paragraph 46 of your second statement, you mentioned blurred images. Stop Oxyvision's first witness statement describes concerns about blurred images it raised with the NHS Health Research Authority last year in light of the HRA, the Health Research Authority's decision to suspend its favourable ethics opinion following a lack of clarity on whether Oxyvision images being collected were in fact anonymous. Do you accept that blurred Oxyvision footage is not de-identified by UK research ethics standards?
So that was an anonymised footage that had gained ethics approval by the ethics committee. We understand that that may have made people feel uncomfortable, but it was anonymised.
Well, is it correct that in blurred footage, identifying details or personal characteristics of patients may be visible or recognisable, such as body shape, skin tone, hair, clothing or other unique features, and that it would also be possible to see a patient undressed?
So, no, so I think we spoke about this earlier, that blurred video is pixelated. So you can roughly work out where somebody is within a room, but it's full pixelation. You couldn't tell what colour someone's hair was or what they were wearing.
Well, we might follow up after your evidence and ask for some examples of blurred footage, and then we can look at those ourselves. Chair, those are the questions that I have. Do you have any questions for the witness?
No, I don't. Thank you very much. And we'll meet again tomorrow at
Starting again tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.